YouTube, it's some sweet sunshine here. I haven't been uploading much because I haven't had any real content. So I'm uploading a story time today. I saw my email from my Gmail that told me I had 2 new subscribers. So I want to say hello to you two. Thank you for subscribing to my page. I'm really excited. I was really shocked to see that I had like so many views to my page. Whoever's new to my page, welcome. Thanks for coming. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my page, like it, comment, share, ring the bell. And if you have any ideas or anything, let me know in the comments. Or if you want to know a little bit about me, you can ask me questions in the comments. But most times I'll do videos with me or my daughter or some of my grandchildren. But most time it's just me. I don't have like a niche yet. I just do whatever. So right now I'm uploading a story time and I hope you guys like it. It's 9 parts to it. Later. Okay, so all my parts got deleted except part 3. I don't know. I have to start over. So this is a story time about my ex, who was my boyfriend at the time, who lived with his sister, and she lived with all her kids, and sometimes her boyfriend would come over, who I also knew because I knew his brother and or his whole family, his sister, his mother. I knew them for years. I knew them from years ago, but his sister never knew that I knew her boyfriend. So eventually, like, he called me, he asked me to come through and spend time or whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool, you know. So I was the only one who worked. He didn't work. So I would bring food or bring goodies for the kids and stuff like that, and just chill out, listen to music, talk, you know, just relax and say hi to his sister and say hi to the kids and stuff like that. So this is part 2. This is a story time about how sometimes you could date someone and think they care about you, but they really don't, and they could put you in harm's way. And my ex-boyfriend, who was my boyfriend at the time, didn't love me. He would just use me for money or knowledge that I had that he didn't have at the time, and I would always look out for him. So some people just take advantage of what they could use you for. So yeah, so I come over, I come visit. I'm in the living room, and he was sitting with me. They all smoke weed. I don't smoke weed, but they would drink sometimes. Sometimes I would drink, but I didn't drink that day because I wasn't there that long. So they was smoking, and he was like, "Oh, you know, I'll be back. I'm going in the room real quick with my sister." So her boyfriend had came over, and he was in the room too. So they were all in the room, and they were in. So this is part 3. So yeah, he went in the room. They all went in the room. He went in the room, and they was in the room for a really long time, just exceptionally long. I mean, long. And I just was like, why are they in a room so long? Like, I was getting bored. Like, I was dead ready to just get up and go home, because I'm like, why should I be here with my boyfriend and he's in the room all day? Like, I'm not that type. Like, I will dead leave your house. So then he comes back out the room, and he's like looking at me weird, like, you know, with this weird look, like just like a blank stare, like looking at me like suspect, like. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? Like, what happened in the room? Like, did somebody say something? Did y'all have an argument? Like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, nothing. So he sat with me for a few minutes, and then he looked at me, and then he was like, this is part 4. My phone is literally trying to die on me. So, okay, part 4. So he looked at me, and then he's like, I'll be right back. And he went back in the room. And I'm like, okay. So he went back in the room, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. Then all of a sudden, he walks out the room. His sister walks out the room, and they both stood over me. Like, I'm sitting on the couch, and they're both standing right here in front of me. So I'm like, are you guys okay? Like, what's going on? Like, what's the matter? Like, I had no clue what was going on. Nothing. Like, I'm not gonna do that to somebody, talk about them in a room and, just pounce on them or something like that. I don't do things like that. Like, if I like you, if I'm cool with you, I'm cool with you. Like, I'm not like a wishy-washy type of person. You know what I'm saying? So they was like, part 5. So, okay, they're both standing over me, and they both looking at me, and I'm wondering what's going on. So they was like, oh, get up. And I'm like, okay. So I got up. I'm thinking they want to surprise somebody with something. I don't know. I didn't know what to think. So they was like, oh, let's go in the hallway. So I'm like, in the hallway? So they're like, yeah. And him and her like walk me towards the door, and they both go in the hallway with me, and they're both like standing really close to me, looking at me with a confrontational stance, right? So I'm like, are you guys okay? Because if you don't want me here, like, I can go home, So they were like, no, we need to ask you a few questions. So I'm like, you need to ask him a few questions. So I'm looking at him like, what's going on? Because you don't want to be with somebody who's going to literally put you in harm's way. For part 6. So they're both standing over me, like I said, and they both stood in front of me, and they asked me to walk towards the hallway. So I walked towards the hallway, and they're both walking with me, and they're standing in front of me in the hallway with a confrontational stance. So I'm like wondering what's going on. So I'm looking at him like, yo, what's going on? Like, what is going on? I'm in the hallway, and it's like, I only have my phone. I don't have my family next to me, none of that. So I'm like, looking at him. He's not saying nothing. He just has his hands folded, looking at me like he's interested in what's going to come out. And then she's looking at me like, so what's going on with you and my man? So I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I'm thinking they took speed or acid or some other type of weed mixed with something, because now y'all bugging. Part 7. So y'all bugging. So I'm like, first of all, what do you mean, what is up with me and your man? What are you talking about? Oh, so we was in a room having a discussion, and he told me he been sleeping with you, that he slept with you mad times. And I'm like, I don't know no man that lies on his penis. That's first thing I know. Secondly, I'm in love with your brother, and I wouldn't do that to him. Thirdly, I wouldn't come to your house knowing I slept with your man. Eat your food. I wouldn't entertain you. I would have told your brother straight up when I met him, after I knew who you was, that I'm not ever going to your house because of something happened between me and her man, which never, ever in the whole history of man ever happened between me and him. Part 8. So her boyfriend used to always crush on me. He crushed on me and my sisters, but we grew up with them. Like, we knew all their sisters. We knew their mother. We knew how she died. My mother was friends. Like, I don't believe he was in there drunk telling them these lies. And I didn't believe that my boyfriend would literally take me in the hallway to basically get pummeled by him and his sister. And I told her, my mother didn't raise me that way. I don't smile in people's face and then do shiesty stuff behind their back. I don't do stuff like that. I'm not no holy roller, but I'm not going to entertain disrespect when I'm coming to somebody's house. Or if I'm with you or with your family, all I would do is bring things to make your life better. Bring you food, help you. Part 9. So basically, they after they had the conversation with me in the hallway, and they realized that he was lying the whole time about the whole situation, we all went back in the house. But I felt some kind of way, and I felt like I was in danger, and I felt like I didn't believe like my dude would sit there and try to fight me with his sister in the hallway. So I basically sat for a few minutes, and I wound up going home. And I think I rested on that for a minute. But just so you know, young girls, like, just, you can't always trust people just because you with them and you slept with them or you think they love you. You always got to look out for you, and you got to watch out for people that have bad intentions. You know, if they can't have you, they get jealous and they'll cause a part 10, and then I'm over with it, because that's basically the story. But like I said, sometimes somebody will want you and be jealous because someone else has you, and they'll try to lie and tell people things to make another person break up with you or make other people fight you. And my ex-boyfriend's family, they love to fight, and her boyfriend's family, they like to fight. I don't come from a family where we fight all the time. My mom and they like to argue. I don't. You know, I'm not a confrontational person. But yeah, that was it with the story. I'm glad I got out of there and I was safe. But this dude did a lot of he was a very grimy person, and he did a lot of grimy stuff to me. That is, I would have like 1,000 stories about him. But he taught me a lot about